Our story begins at Zhengyan University. Shun, a second-generation rich kid, steps out of his supercar. He's showing off his wealth in front of everyone. But that's not all. He's also dating the second-year goddess of a university. Onlookers can't believe it. He's barely started college and is already in a relationship with a second-year beauty from the flight attendant class. Of course, when you're rich and good-looking, you get first pick when it comes to dating. But Shin doesn't just get first pick. He practically has a monopoly. Tons of first-year goddesses are head over heels for him. Meanwhile, average students like them are destined to spend their university lives single. All the other female students are just looking for a chance to spend time with Shun. After all, who wouldn't want to be the girlfriend of a second-generation rich kid? But unfortunately, Shun's lavish, spendthrift lifestyle, envied by everyone, came to an end in his junior year of college because of a disastrous event. Not only did his family's 3 travel agencies go bankrupt, but they also racked up $1 million in debt. And his friends, who used to call him Big Brother and always surrounded him, stopped even looking at him properly after his family went bankrupt. Just like that, his old, fake friends drifted away, one by one, shunning him like he was a plague. His parents and sister were crammed into a rented apartment, and he, who used to come to college in a luxury car every day, had to move back into a college dorm. With everything falling apart, forget about the freedom and carefree days of the past. He didn't even know if he could live a decent life anymore. Then came the moment that broke him further. His girlfriend broke up with him. She told Shin not to contact her anymore and said she hoped he would find a girl who understood him better. Shin was shocked. He couldn't believe that after 3 years together, she just ended things so coldly. Was she truly that heartless? But Zhou made it clear there was no love between them. They were only together to satisfy their own needs. She also told Shin to stop calling her Ting ever again. If they ever crossed paths in the future, she hoped they would never see each other again. After saying that, she got into the car of Shun's friend, the one who had come to pick her up, and drove away. Shun smiled and stopped her, telling her to return the designer bags he had bought for her, saying, "I guess you're not using them anymore." Zhou, shocked, asked Shun, "How can you be such a shameless person? Have some dignity. We were together for 3 years, and all you gave me were a few lousy bags. And now that we're breaking up, you want them back." Shun kept smiling and replied, "If you can't even return them, can we really call this a proper breakup?" Zhou gritted her teeth in frustration. However, her friend in the car told her not to get angry over something like this. The older man called out, asking Ting to get in the car. Then, he turned to Shun and asked if he needed a lift. Shun couldn't believe that the old man called her Ting. She liked it when he said it, but when Shun said it, she got angry. Shun replied that he didn't need a ride. His place was just nearby. The old man told Shun not to take the breakup too seriously and not to worry too much. He even added that, for safety's sake, he should drop Shun off himself. Shun was furious, wondering if they thought he was some kind of fool. He told the old man, "My place is close, just a few steps away. Zhou Wanting is a good girl. Please take good care of her in the future. As men, we should give women the best." Then, with a cold smile, he continued, "By the way, let me tell you a few things about Wanting's habits. First, she loves using Okamoto 001 condoms. Second, she doesn't need high-end stockings because the fancy ones aren't as comfortable. And lastly, her favorite outfits in bed are nurse and cop uniforms." The old man's face darkened in anger upon hearing this, and he quickly drove away with Zhou. Shin stood there watching them leave, thinking, "Zhou Wanting, maybe your choice was the right one. I hope it leads you to a perfect life." Just as he was lost in thought, wondering how to turn his life around, suddenly a system window appeared in front of him. Confused and shocked, Shin wondered if he was on the brink of death or having some sort of mental breakdown. Was that why he was seeing such an illusion? However, the system quickly explained it was called the Perfect Life System. With this system, if Shin spent money on female partners, he would receive 3 times the amount spent in return. The system then activated a time-limited task and instructed Shun, spend money on a suitably aged member of the opposite sex who has an affinity level over 60 and earn their admiration. If the task is successfully completed, the money spent will be refunded, multiplied by 3. If that person's affinity increases by 3 points during the spending, the refund will be doubled again. However, the spending must come from his own savings or cash, not borrowed or stolen money. Shin was stunned and confused. Was this a joke? A hallucination? How could he suddenly awaken a system like this? Before he could think further, his teacher, Li Xiao, called out to him from behind. She had heard about Shin's breakup and told him not to stress. It was just a breakup, and it wasn't the end of the world. In moments like this, she said with a smile, there's one phrase guys love to hear the most. If it's over, it's over. The next one will be better. She tried to cheer him up and assured him he would definitely find a girl much better than Joe. Just then, Shin noticed numbers floating above Professor Lee's head. It looked like an affinity level. Seeing the glowing numbers and notes hovering around her, Shin realized the perfect life system from a moment ago wasn't a hallucination. It was real. He gave an awkward smile and told Professor Lee that he was fine. Seeing him in a better mood, she smiled and said, by the way, if you thought more about the scholarship I mentioned earlier, I can help you with the application. However, Shun told Professor Lee that a few thousand won was just a drop in the bucket compared to his family's massive debts, and it would be better to give the scholarship to someone who truly needed it. Professor Lee nodded in understanding, but she added, if you ever face any issues in the future, whether it's about love or anything else, you can come talk to me anytime. After saying that, she began walking back to class. Shun, however, was thinking about using Professor Lee for the system's time-limited task. He wanted to find out whether he would really receive a multiplied refund for completing the task. So, he stopped Professor Lee and thanked her for caring so much about him. Then, he bought a milk tea and gave it to her. Afterward, he checked his phone. His original balance had been 87 yuan. He'd spent 6 on the milk tea, so he should have had 81 left, but now he saw he had received an income of 18 yuan, bringing his new balance to 99 yuan. With this, he realized the system's refund really works. As long as Professor Lee's affinity towards him stays above 60, he could keep spending on her and continue receiving refunds from the system. Realizing this opportunity, Shun thought, if I play this right, I can pay off all my family's debts. No, my family could even become richer than ever before. I'll be back to my old self, or maybe something even better. However, there was a major problem. His current capital was only 99 yuan. That was far too little, and according to the system's rules, he could only spend money from his own savings or cash to receive a refund. His top priority now was to secure enough startup capital and find the right women with high affinity to spend on. So over the next few days, he managed to gather funds. 8,000 yuan in gold bars, 20,000 yuan in personal loans, and 21,585 yuan in business loans, plus the original 99 yuan. That brought his total to 49,684 yuan. Shin decided to use this money to give Professor Lee an expensive gift. However, in her eyes, he was still just a poor student from a bankrupt family. If he wanted her to accept such a costly present, he'd have to be careful about how he presented it. So, to make his gift acceptable, he bought a handbag worth 39,800 yuan from this year's spring collection. He planned to tell her he got it through a knockoff deal, so she wouldn't feel pressured or suspicious. Without wasting any time, he headed to Professor Lee's apartment. On the way, he couldn't help but worry. What if she already had a partner? Still pushing aside his hesitation, he knocked on her door. Professor Lee opened it, surprised to see Shun standing there. "Shun, what are you doing here?" she asked. Shun immediately noticed that she was cooking and felt a bit awkward. He apologized, saying, "Sorry for bothering you at this time." Then he added sincerely, "Professor Lee, you've taken such good care of me over these past 3 years of college. I used to take it for granted, thinking it was just normal, but today I realized just how precious and warm that support really is." He then handed her the bag, saying, "This is just a small token of my gratitude." However, when Professor Lee saw the expensive bag, she immediately realized it wasn't cheap. She told Shun, "You don't have to give me anything. As your professor, this is part of my job. It's nothing special. I treat all my students the same. There's really no need for this." But Shin quickly replied, "This bag isn't actually that expensive. I bought it from a knockoff seller. It only cost me 2,000 yen. Given my family situation, how could I possibly afford anything more?" He added, "The bag may not be worth much, but it's a token of my gratitude. Please accept it." At that point, Professor Lee realized that refusing the gift would feel like rejecting his feelings outright, and after his recent breakup, she didn't want to hurt him any further. So, she accepted the gift. However, she told Shun, "Then I'll return the favor on some holiday or your birthday." Suddenly, the stir-fry she had been cooking began to burn. She rushed back into the kitchen and called out, "Shun, come inside." She then invited him to stay for dinner. This was the perfect opportunity for Shun. He smiled and said, "As long as your boyfriend doesn't mind, I'm happy to stay." After all, he needed to be close to her to raise her affinity level and earn more system refunds. Just then, he received a system notification. 119,400 yuan has been added to your account. Upon seeing this, Shun smiled, thinking a 39,800 yuan bag. With the triple refund, Shun received 119,400 yuan. After deducting the cost of the bag, he had made nearly 80,000 yuan in profit. It wasn't like he had never spent 80,000 yuan before, but earning it himself was a completely different feeling, and this time he had done it all on his own. Just as he was lost in thought, Professor Lee came out and told him to sit down and eat. Shin quickly composed himself and asked, "Professor Lee, where's your boyfriend?" Professor Lee looked surprised and replied, "I don't have a boyfriend." Just then, her kitchen apron wouldn't come off properly, and she struggled with a knot. Shin stepped forward to help, but Professor Lee said, "No need, it's fine." Still, Shun smiled and replied, "Don't worry, I'll fix it in a moment." But just as he was helping her, Li Sha's younger sister, Li Ming, walked in and shouted, "What the heck are you doing?" Startled, Shin quickly pulled his hands back and stammered, "We're not doing anything." Professor Lee, trying to defuse the moment, smiled and asked her sister, "Why are you so late today?" Then she introduced her properly to Shun. "This is my little sister, Li Ming." Shun awkwardly said, "Hello," but Li Ming coldly replied that she wasn't in the mood to chat. Sensing the tension, Shun realized the seriousness of the situation and turned to Professor Lee, saying, "I already ate before coming, so I'll head back to the college now." Professor Lee looked confused and asked, "Just a moment ago, it seemed like you were about to sit down and eat. What happened?" Before Shun could respond, Li Ming spoke up and said, "This guy is definitely up to no good." Professor Lee frowned and said, "Don't overthink it. He's just my student." But her younger sister warned her, "He's clearly trying to flirt with you. Be careful." Professor Lee sighed and replied, "Don't be ridiculous. Now, come on, let's eat." Meanwhile, as Shun walked away, he was lost in thought. Who should I spend on next? Professor Lee was just a student-teacher relationship, and besides, she wasn't like Zhou Wanting, who only cared about money. Just then, he bumped into his roommate, Lao Huang, who didn't look so good. Shin asked him, "What happened to you?" Lao Huang replied miserably, "My goddess, Fong Minwei, went to the movies with that damn Lu Hanping." Shin immediately remembered Fong Minwei. Fong Minwei, the flower of the sophomore class in International Trade Class 20. She was Lao Huang's untouchable goddess. They had never spoken, never interacted, not even once. It was pure, one-sided admiration. When Lao Huang saw the expression on Shun's face, he asked, "What? Are you making fun of me now?" But Shun replied, "Don't joke around, I'm serious. She's not someone you should even be looking at." Just then, Shun noticed Fong Minwei and her friend nearby. Lao Huang breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that she had only gone to the movies with Lu Hanping. They hadn't gone to a hotel or anything more intimate. Seeing Lao Huang like this, Shun couldn't help but worry. Has chasing a girl made you lose your dignity, Lao Huang? How you expect this to end well? But when Shin looked directly at Fong Minwei, he was shocked. She has affinity, and they're even higher than Professor Lee's. Fong Minwei's friend spotted Shun and whispered to her, "Hey, isn't that Shun Yuan, the guy who got dumped by his girlfriend?" She remembered how during basic training at the start of the semester, she had encouraged Minwei to get close to him, maybe even buy him a drink. But now, she regretted that advice. "Rich guys like him always have bad attitudes," she said. "It's understandable if they act arrogantly while they're loaded. But even after his family went bankrupt, he's still as cocky as ever. No wonder his girlfriend dumped him." Meanwhile, Shun was watching Minwei's affinity level, which had been high just moments ago, suddenly start to plummet. He realized, so she really did think highly of me. She could have been a huge asset for generating system profits. But now it's all going down because of what her friend just said. Confused, Shin realized he couldn't just sit back. He had to do something. He asked La Hong, "If Fungi and I end up together, would that bother you?" Lao Huang, aware that Shin wasn't the rich guy with a sports car anymore, looked at him seriously and said, "I wouldn't mind, as long as she's not with Li Jinping. I don't care who she's with." Upon hearing this, Shin quickly followed Minwei. He was going to give it a shot. He approached Minwei and called her name. Minwei blushed as she looked at Shun, but her friend quickly intervened and asked, "What do you want with Minnie?" Shun calmly replied, "I wanted to ask if she's free tomorrow. I've booked a table at Sing Sushi, and I'd like her to join me." Minwei blushed even harder as her friend asked, "Is Shun asking you to have dinner with him?" Her friend was surprised because Shingushi was a Japanese restaurant with a minimum spend of 1,000 yuan per person. Shin explained, "I'm simply inviting her because I want her to help me pick out a birthday gift for my sister. If possible, please let me know by noon tomorrow." After saying that, he started walking back to his dormitory. Minwi, surprised, asked her friend, "I just watched a movie with Li Jinping, and now I'm going to dinner with Shunwan. Is that okay?" Her friend reassured her it's not wrong. Shing Sushi serves top-notch Japanese food. Shunwan might be a bit arrogant, but at least he's handsome. Li Jinping only has his family's money. If Shun Yuan's family bounces back, he'll easily surpass Li Zhongping. Honestly, whether it's Shun or Li Jinping, you have nothing to lose by going. It's just dinner and a stroll, nothing serious. Minwi agreed. The next day, Minwi went out with Shun for dinner at Zing Sushi. While eating, she asked Shun, "I've heard your family is going through hard times. You don't need to spend this much." Shun reassured her, "Don't worry. For such good food, it's worth it." Minwi then asked, "Why did you suddenly invite me to dinner? Is it really to help you pick a gift for your sister? Or is there something else?" Shin nervously replied, "Don't overthink it. I've always wanted to invite you to dinner, but I couldn't find the right moment." Minwi was satisfied with that answer, but her affinity level started dropping again. Shin quickly noticed and changed the subject. He said, "During basic training, you often bought me drinks, and we chatted on WeChat at night. I missed those happy days." Hearing this, Minwi felt her affinity level toward Shun increasing rapidly. Time passed, and 40 minutes later, they finished their dinner. Shun paid the bill, 2,774 yuan. As a result, Minwi's affinity level for Shun increased dramatically. She couldn't believe it. "My monthly budget is only 3,000 yen, and this meal we just had is nearly a month's worth of her expenses." Meanwhile, Li Jinping, when they went to the movies, arrogantly said they should first eat at the school cafeteria and dine out next time. Even though his family has money, he's so stingy. Just then, a system notification appeared in front of Shun. He triggered a time-limited task, spend on a person of the opposite sex with an affinity level over 60 and win their admiration. If Shin successfully completes the task, the amount spent on the opposite sex will be refunded to him, multiplied by 3. For every 3-point increase in affinity, the refund will be doubled. Shin noticed Minwi's affinity level increasing, and that feeling of earning 10,000 yuan from just one meal was incredible for him. Meanwhile, Minwi was genuinely happy. The more she looked at Shun, the more she liked him. She didn't care if it was the power of money. She grabbed Shin's hand and told him to go to the mall to pick out a gift for his sister. Shin noticed Zhou Wanting and her new boyfriend. Zhou looked at him and couldn't believe it. They just broke up yesterday, and he's already out with someone new. Her boyfriend was frustrated, unable to believe how a poor student like him could spend money in a place like this. Meanwhile, he, an exploited worker, had to buy so many bags just to win Zhou Wanting over. And this guy, with all his debts, still has girls with him. It was infuriating. Seeing Zhou Wanting's expression again, he suggested they should go to other stores first. Zhou Wanting's new boyfriend saw this as an opportunity to humiliate Shin and told him, "Since you're here, why don't you go in and take a look? After all, window shopping costs nothing." Shun, unfazed, told him that it was just a coincidence. He came here to shop for a gift for his sister. Zhou Wanting's boyfriend laughed at him and said, "You should hit the wholesale market for gifts, not here, where you can't even afford anything." Zhou Wanting approached Minwi. "You shouldn't come into his shop." She warned, "He isn't a second-generation rich guy anymore. He's just a poor student now." Shun intervened, "I never fooled anyone, so stop talking nonsense," Shun told Zhou Wanting. However, Zhou Wanting's boyfriend approached Shun. "You shouldn't speak to Zhou Wanting like that. A man should have class." He said, "Besides, Wanting is his ex, and everyone knows his family situation, bankrupt and in debt. He doesn't need to pretend he's rich." Shun was frustrated and couldn't believe how disgusting the two of them were. They were really made for each other, he thought. Just then, Shun triggered another time-limited task. The system asked Shun to spend money on a person of the opposite sex with an affinity level over 60 and raise others' negative emotion levels. For every 5-point increase, the spending on the opposite sex is doubled. This task could also be combined with a refund for spending on the opposite sex. Shun smiled, unable to believe the system had given him this opportunity. At first, Shin thought of giving them some dignity and not embarrassing them in public. But since the two of them insisted on meddling, and now that the system had issued a task, there was no reason not to act. He grabbed Minwi's hand and went inside. The black-haired salesgirl told another girl sitting beside her to take care of Shun Yuan. who used to be a regular customer. The girl didn't agree with her and wondered, what's the point of serving a bankrupt ex-rich guy? Last time that fake socialite came in, she ended up running around and just sampled things without buying. I don't want to do that again. Just then, Zhou Wanting decided to buy a luxury bag and asked her boyfriend, June, to pay for it. She even showed it to Shun. The black-haired sales girl quickly saw this as an opportunity and rushed over to Zhou. Meanwhile, another girl was frustrated and couldn't believe it. Quality customers who make steady purchases were being taken care of by her, while the problematic ones who don't buy were left for her. How unfair, she thought. The salesgirls praised Zhou Wanting for her excellent taste. Shin told Minhui not to worry about money and to buy whatever she thought was good. Minhui showed an excellent and pretty bag that his sister would love. However, the salesgirl standing beside them told Shin that together the items cost over 50,000 yuan, which was pretty expensive for someone whose family went bankrupt. Meanwhile, Zhou Wanting's boyfriend, June, nervously thought that a 20,000 yuan bag would be enough, but she wanted a full set for 100,000 yuan. Zhou whispered in his ear, telling him to pay up. Show his strength as a boyfriend in front of Shun Yuan. However, Brother June didn't have that much money on his card. On the other hand, Shun told the salesgirl that he wanted both bags. He also wanted the accessories the other salesgirl had recommended. Upon hearing this, Zhou Wanting and her boyfriend were shocked. So were Minhui and the salesgirl who had thought Shun was broke. The salesgirl nervously calculated the amount. She told Shun his total was 131,000 yuan. Shun smiled, thinking that right after the food refund, he had exactly that amount. He handed over his card and paid the full amount. The salesgirl, filled with disbelief, couldn't believe it. She had thought it would be a waste of time, but he bought 2 bags. He also added a set of accessories. One sale had exceeded 230,000 yuan. She didn't expect Mr. Shun to be even more generous and carefree than before. Zhou Wanting furiously shouted at Shun, "Where did you get all that money? Weren't you supposed to be bankrupt?" Her boyfriend also asked Shun if he took out a loan just to show off in front of them. However, Shun told Zhou Wanting to think whatever she wanted. He advised her boyfriend to buy another bag for Zhou Wanting. It only costs a bit over 20,000 yuan, which is nothing for someone who drives a luxury car. That costs at least 600,000 or 700,000 yuan, so he wouldn't mind spending a bit more. Zhou Wanting looked at her boyfriend, June. "Show your power. This argumentative brat shouldn't look down on us." However, Brother June's luxury car was bought with a loan. He couldn't tell Wanting this, as it would hit a sore spot. So, he pretended to get an important call and tried to slip away from the situation. Furious, Zhou Wanting looked at Shun angrily, "Take care of yourself." Meanwhile, the negative emotion points for the system task that Shun received had already hit the target. It wasn't worth arguing with him anymore. What mattered was that the task was done. Shun gave one of the luxury bags he bought to Minhui. However, she refused to take it, telling him that it was too expensive and she couldn't accept it. But Shun told her it was nothing, just a bag. "You had to put up with those nasty comments, so this is my way of apologizing." After Shun insisted, she finally accepted it. He also gave her all the other items. Minhui, confused, asked him if these weren't for his sister. Shun made an excuse, telling her he didn't think his sister would like them. But I knew at least this bag was something she would like. And of course, if he bought it for his sister, Shan Xuan, she would definitely scold him for splurging and then tell their parents. From the start, these 2 bags were meant for her. He told Minhui to take them, so he could get the refund. Minhui blushed. She thought that 1 bag was already too much, and now the whole set? Wouldn't it give her a bad impression that she's a gold digger? However, Shin reassured her not to worry too much. This is just the beginning. We have plenty of time ahead. After being pressured by Shun, she finally accepted everything. As she accepted his gifts, the system congratulated Shun for completing the limited time task. This task generated 15 negative emotion points, which would triple the amount spent. Additionally, combined with the refund for expenses on the opposite sex, the total refund is 6 times the amount spent. He received 786,000 yuan in his bank account. He grabbed Minhui's hand, thinking, "Minhui is now my money tree. I have to take good care of her. I can't let her affinity level drop like before." He told Minhui, "Let's head back to school, it's getting late." Even though he wanted to spend more time with her, he knew these things shouldn't be forced. It was better to let them flow naturally. Sometime later, at the boys' dormitory, when Shin was going back to his room, he bumped into Li Jinpeng, who was telling his friend about Minhui. His friend was asking him to celebrate and treat them to dinner. Li Zonpeng agreed and decided to invite the whole class and throw a huge party to make Shin jealous. However, Shin didn't care. He didn't argue with him and decided to go back to his room. At his room, his friend told him the whole situation. That damn Li Zonping, after watching a movie with the campus flower, wants the whole school to know and is inviting the whole class for a party. But Shin told his friend not to worry, telling him that Minwi wouldn't be with him. However, Shun's friend told him to stop showing off. He pointed out that Minwi went to the movies with him last night, and who knows if they did more than that. Besides, she didn't agree to go out with him today either, which means she's really with Li Xiaon. Shin remained silent. He didn't care. He knew Minwi wouldn't be with Li Xiaonping right now. He had more than enough money, so he decided to visit his home the next day. At Shinwan's house, Shun's uncle, Yaoda, came to meet with his parents. Shun's dad told him to wait, as they were talking with his uncle. Shun's uncle came to get his money back from Shin's parents. After hearing that his family had gone bankrupt, he told them that he needed the amount in the coming days to cover his expenses. Shin's mother was furious. "I reminded your brother," she said to Shun's father, "that when he didn't have enough money to open that car wash, we lent him 300,000 yuan. We didn't even pressure him after lending it. But now, after we've just taken 200,000 yuan from him because of family problems, he keeps pressuring us over and over." Shun's father stopped his wife. "Maybe my brother has his own difficulties," he said. "Difficulties," Shin's mother argued. "I asked his wife about this, and she said they didn't have any urgent expenses these days." Shin's uncle argued back. "Paying off debts is natural," he told Shin's mother. "Luckily, we are family and can talk calmly. If we were strangers, you would have seen what aggressive debt collection looks like." Shin's mother was furious. "I can't believe he's even threatening to collect violently," she said. "My God, and we were so kind to someone like him before." Shun's father stopped her. "Get the gold jewelry you have," he told her. "Find it and sell it to pay off the family debt." Because of this whole situation, Shun triggered a time-limited task. Pay off family or personal debts. If he completed this task, the amount paid in debts would be refunded to him, multiplied by 2. The first time he paid 200,000 yuan, he would get 1 million yuan for exclusive car expense. Shin was surprised and couldn't believe this task came at the perfect time. Even if there wasn't a task, he had planned to help ease the family's burden today. Meanwhile, Shun's mother gave all the jewelry Shun's father had given her. No matter how hard it was, she had never sold them. Although they were only worth a few thousand yuan, they were priceless to him. But when they looked carefully, they noticed that 2 gold rings were missing. They wondered if they got lost during a move. Shun, who had been listening to their conversation from behind the door, felt embarrassed. In his first year of college, when he didn't have enough money to buy Zhou wanting a bag, he went into his mom's room and sold the 2 gold rings. Back then, he was such a lousy kid. He opened the door. "Mom and Dad," he said, "I have the money." His mom and dad didn't believe him and asked him not to joke around, reminding him of the situation at home. "Use that money to top up the cafeteria card," they told him. "I'm serious," Shin told them, and to prove it, he transferred some of the money to his father's account. When his father and mother saw the 200,000 yuan he had transferred, they were shocked. "Where did you get all that money?" they asked Shun. Shin made an excuse. "I used to get a good allowance, so I invested it in cryptocurrencies," he told his parents. "A friend told me not to touch it, that it had huge growth potential. When I saw my money had increased tenfold, I cashed it out recently." Of course, he couldn't tell his parents that he had a system. The system gave him a refund when he spent money on girls. His parents believed his words and were really happy with this amount of money. They could pay off the debt and get rid of that problem. After that, his parents paid his uncle's debt. His mother told Shun's uncle to leave. In the future, it would be better if their families didn't have so much contact. Shun's uncle, after seeing the situation, tried to calm things down. But Shun's mother, furious, told him to get out of her house. Shun's uncle, confused, thought that his cousin owed almost 100 million yuan. He believed that the longer time passed, the less money he'd have. So, he came to collect as soon as possible. However, he didn't expect them to pay everything so quickly. He wondered if his cousin's family had a new business that was making profits. Would they prosper again? But with what he did today, it seemed they wouldn't be able to get along in the future. Meanwhile, after completing the system task, Shun received his reward. He received 400,000 yuan and an additional 1 million yuan, totaling 2,186,356 yuan. Shun smiled, thinking that excluding the 1 million yuan for buying a car, his net worth had already exceeded 1 million. He never expected that by coming home, Not only would he help his parents in a critical moment, but he would also receive such a huge reward. However, he knew that to completely settle the family debts, there was still a long, long way to go. So, even if he gave all this money to his dad, it wouldn't be enough. The best move is to use this capital to generate more money. The most he can give his dad now is 200,000 yuan. He approached his dad and told him that he still had a portion left that he hadn't withdrawn, around 200,000 yuan. He asked if they needed it urgently. However, his mother told him that he should save it for now since the other debts aren't that urgent. But Shun's dad asked him to take out 50,000 yuan for him. Shun agreed. He remembered that the way his dad acted now was exactly the same as when he used to ask him for money. After giving the money to his dad, Shun started heading back to school. But on his way, he met Professor Lee and asked her what she was doing there. Professor Lee told him that there were no classes that afternoon, so she came out to get some fresh air. Seizing the opportunity, Shun invited Professor Lee to dinner to earn some more money. However, Professor Lee wasn't alone. She had come with her little sister, Li Ming. Li Ming looked at Shun coldly and angrily. Shun quickly realized that the teacher's sister was like his nemesis. It was better not to mess with her, no matter what bad happened to him. So, he quickly made an excuse and told Professor Lee that he had something urgent to do at school. Maybe we could eat some other time, he asked. Li Ming told her sister, Professor Lee, that the guy had bad intentions. Professor Lee reassured her sister, don't overthink it. It's just dinner. Even if he had other intentions, I couldn't accept them. Meanwhile, Shun's whole body was covered in sweat. He remembered back when he drove with the AC on and caressed Joe. It was so comfortable and refreshing. But he remembered that right now, he had a special fund for buying a car that the system had given him. Not using it would be disrespecting the great system. So, he contacted Minhui and asked her to come with him to check out some cars. Minhui agreed and told him that she didn't have classes that afternoon. Minhui's friend teased her, saying, I can't believe you're already picking out a car together. She asked Minhui, won't you both head back to the dorm tonight? Minhui asked her friend not to talk nonsense, telling her that they weren't even together yet. But her friend teased her, saying, it doesn't matter if you're together or not. You're lucky to have found a rich and handsome guy, and soon you'll be together. Minhui blushed and asked her friend to stop teasing her. 1 hour later, at the dealership, Shun and Minhui were looking at cars to buy. A salesman approached them and asked which model they were interested in. However, the salesman was surprised to see a familiar face. He recognized Minhui as one of his high school juniors. Minhui also remembered him. This was her senior, Qin Yang, the one who had chased her in high school. Salesman Qin Yang approached Minhui and asked, who's the man with you? Shun introduced himself and told him that he was Minhui's classmate. Qin Yang greeted him and then asked which car Shun was interested in. Shun pointed at the luxury M9 and asked the salesman if he could take a closer look. The salesman told him that the display car was over there. You could take a look and even sit inside if you want. But inside, Qin Yang was furious. The most basic M9 costs 500,000 yuan, and with all the fees, it exceeds 600,000. He thought, this guy dresses so plainly. It looks like he doesn't have money, and yet he brings a girl to the dealership to show off. He looked at Minhui. She couldn't be. She was as beautiful as ever, and she had been his goddess in high school. But now, he was not the same as before. Now, he was an elite salesman at this dealership with a monthly salary of over 10,000 yuan, and he drove a 200,000 yuan Accord. Girls these days were realistic. Someone like him was their top choice. Qin Yang approached Minhui and asked, are you free tonight? Minhui awkwardly told her senior, Qin, I'm not free tonight. I have other plans. Shun, sitting in the car, asked the salesman, can you arrange a test drive before I buy the car? The salesman, furious, thought to himself, I'm trying to invite Minhui. Why are you interrupting? If you can't buy it, then why do you want a test drive? You're wasting my time. He apologized and told Shun, our boss took the test car today, so we can't do a test drive. Shun was surprised because before coming in, he saw the M9 at the entrance. If you can't arrange it, Shun said, send someone who can. He got out of the car and told the receptionist, send me another salesperson so I can get a test drive. Upon hearing this, a beautiful girl named Chun Na approached Shun and asked, how can I help you? Meanwhile, one of Qin Yang's colleagues asked him, hey, did you give your client, Qin Na the boy? Qin Yang, furious, replied, I don't want to waste my time on a student who isn't even wearing expensive clothes. He says he wants to buy an M9 and test drive it. Isn't that absurd? His colleague asked, what if he actually buys it? You'll regret it later. Qin Yang smirked and said, buy? Not a chance. He's just a poor guy bringing a gorgeous girl to show off. I've seen plenty like him. Meanwhile, China arranged a test drive for Shun, explained the car's features and performance to him. However, Shun wasn't paying attention to her words. He was looking at her, amazed by her looks and figure, even more gorgeous than Minwi. But he knew the auto industry well. He had read online news about sales girls making deals with male clients just to meet their sales targets, so he wasn't sure if she already had a sugar daddy or not. China noticed how professionally Shun was driving and asked, "Are you already familiar with the model specs?" She also asked about his approximate budget. Shun asked her, "Do you have any units available? I want to take the car home today." Shana was surprised to hear that. She couldn't believe he wanted to buy the car right away. Based on her experience, all the clients she had seen before would view the car several times before making a purchase. But this guy, after just a single test drive, without even asking the price, already wanted to buy it. Confused and wondering if he was serious, she thought, why did Shinyan give up on him? She quickly checked if there were any units available at that moment, but there were none in the store. She apologized to Shun and told him, "We currently don't have any units here, but at another branch, a client canceled his order due to financial issues. If needed, they could have the car delivered to the store within a week." Shun agreed to this proposal and asked her to place the order. Shana was surprised. She couldn't believe that someone would buy a car worth over 600,000 yuan without hesitation. Could this be one of those legendary angel clients? Or does he have other intentions? She told Shun to take a seat in the store and said he only needed to pay a 50,000 yuan deposit for now. She would fetch the contract, and once he received the car, he could pay the remaining amount. After finalizing the contract, she returned to the store where Qin Yang laughed and asked how the deal went. Qin Na smirked and told him the client bought it. Qin Yang, now nervous, said, "That guy's just showing off. When it comes time to pay, he'll make excuses and vanish." There are plenty like him in the store. His colleague agreed, saying, "In all these years selling cars, I've never seen a buyer so determined." Qin Na looked at both of them and said, "Mr. Shen bought the car, and he plans to pay in cash." Upon hearing this, both of them were shocked. Qin Yang's colleague looked at him in disbelief and said, "I can't believe how stupid you were. You lost a huge sale, what a waste." After completing all the paperwork, Qin Na handed the documents to Shun and told him, "If you have any problems in the future, feel free to contact me anytime." She also offered him a ride, but Minwi refused on his behalf. Minwi told Qin Na that they would just take a taxi. Qin Na smiled awkwardly, realizing that, for a moment, she had gotten carried away with serving the client and might have annoyed his girlfriend. She thanked Mr. Shun for purchasing the car and told him to take care of it. After that, Shun and Minwi headed back to the university. While walking, Shun asked, "What do you want to eat now?" Minwi just nodded. Seeing her like that, Shun asked, "Are you upset or jealous?" Minwi replied, "No," while blushing. Shun smiled at her. Though she said no, her expression gave her away. He reassured her, "Chun Na and I only have a salesperson relationship. It's nothing more." Minwi said, "Who knows?" She told him she had seen him chatting happily with her, scrolling through her moments, and spending so much time together. Shin clarified, "That's just a habit of mine. Every time I add someone, I check out their moments, nothing more." Minwi, still a little jealous, told him not to do that next time. Even though they weren't officially in a relationship yet, she suddenly felt jealous. Shun's generous spending and charm clearly attracted other women. If she wanted Shun for herself, she had to think of a way to lock him down. Shun nervously promised, "Next time, I won't let that happen." Then he added, "Let's eat first, then hit the mall and pick out a gift." However, he also thought to himself, "If I want to earn money, I have to spend it on more girls and get refunds later." That's the trick. Minwi told Shun, "You don't have to buy me anything. You already bought me 2 bags yesterday." She didn't want Shun to think she was a gold digger. Shun smiled and said, "That doesn't matter. It's normal for girls to have several bags. After all, there's 7 days in a week. You can't carry the same one every day. If I don't spend, how am I going to earn?" he thought. "Spending on girls gets me triple returns. The more she buys, the better. That way, I earn more and more." A moment later, they entered a nearby cafe. Shun asked Minwi, "Do you want a hot or cold drink today?" Minwi blushed, wondering if Shun was indirectly trying to find out whether she was on her period. Nervously, she replied, "Cold coffee." Shun noticed her odd expression and thought, "What's with that look on her face? Geez, where has her mind gone?" Then he thought, "My last time with Zhou Wanting was 2 months ago. With all the money I've saved, I really need to spend it." And with a grin, he decided, Let's make this misunderstanding even more intense. 3 hours later, after eating and doing some shopping, the two of them started heading back. However, Minwi couldn't help but notice how incredibly generous Shun was being to her. In just one day, he had spent over 80,000 yuan on her, and in 2 days, the total was nearly 140,000 yuan. Meanwhile, Shun received a notification from his system. Received 252,000 yuan on May 12th at 11:39. Current balance, 2,254,256 yuan. Shun was thrilled to see the refund come in so quickly. The system didn't mess around when it came to double refunds. He had given 50,000 yuan to his dad and another 50,000 for the car deposit and got it all back instantly. Even though the 2.17 million yuan included the final payment for the car. Even after subtracting nearly 600,000 yuan, he still had over 1.6 million yuan left to spend. Looking at Minwi, he asked, "How about not going back to the dorm tonight?" Minwi smiled and agreed. Half an hour later, they arrived at the Grand Magnate Hotel. While Shun was taking a shower, Minwi sat on the bed, feeling embarrassed and wondering how she was going to explain to her friends why she hadn't returned to the dorm. How do I even say it? Should I just tell them I'm with Shun Yuan? Just then, Shun came out of the shower and asked, "Are you ready?" Blushing, Minwi quickly messaged her friend Ling Ling, who had once warned her not to cross the line, but she couldn't help it. Shun had given her so much. She texted Ling Ling, "I won't be back tonight. If anyone asks, just say I went to a relative's house." After that, well, let's just say Shun made a move on Minwi, and things happened that can't be described here. Half an hour later, Minwi thought, this isn't as scary as Shun Ling said it would be. Shun also didn't expect Minwi to take it so well. He felt good, but also completely exhausted. It seems like I haven't been exercising enough lately, he thought. After 2 months without anything, I've gotten so weak. Minwi approached him and said, "Let's do it again." Shun, nervous and trying to catch his breath, said, "Can we rest a bit first?" But Minwi wasn't listening. She was in the mood and full of energy. Early the next morning, just as Shun returned to the dorm, the first thing he did was pay off all the loans he had taken from various apps. To his surprise, the system even offered refunds for paying off debts. Between the various loan apps and credit cards, he owed a total of 52,000 yuan. And then there was the 100,000 yuan he owed Li Yuhong. When Shun's family went bankrupt, all his fake friends avoided him. But Li Yuhong, without any hesitation, helped him during his time of need. Just then, Shun's roommate asked, "Where were you last night? You didn't come back to the dorm." He also told Shun to check the class group messages. Li Jinpong is inviting everyone to a class dinner tonight. Apparently, Li Jinpong had bought a car, and the class monitor organized the dinner. "If we go, it'll just be to watch him show off his money," his roommate added. "But if we don't, we'll still lose the 200 yuan class fee." However, Shun told his roommate, "I don't want to go. That guy just wants to flaunt his money." Just then, the system triggered a time-limited task. The host will receive 1 million yuan exclusively for investments. He must invest the entire amount within 1 week. Task reward: all income from any commercial activity will be doubled. Shun smiled. He couldn't believe it. A business task. It's perfect timing, he thought. He had been wondering what to do with all the money in his account, and now he had the chance to use it to create a legitimate source of income to show his parents. Lu Hong's bar was still under renovation. Maybe Shun could invest in it and have some fun too. Shun messaged Li Yuhong, "Send me your location. I'll join you tonight." Sometime later, inside the private Dragon Lounge at Nanjing Restaurant, Lin Kuang-yao, one of Li Yuhong's friends, asked, "Who else are we waiting for?" Another man in a black suit and glasses, Sure Hai Jay, said, "All the important people have already arrived." Xiao Jiang, another friend, agreed. "Yeah, the important ones are never late." Li Yuhong smiled and told them, "Don't be impatient. There are fruits and snacks on the table. Grab something while we wait. Shun Yuan will be here soon." However, Lin Guang Yao raised an eyebrow and said, "Wasn't Shun's family supposed to be bankrupt? He's no longer in our circle, so why did he invite him?" But Li Wang simply told him to mind his own business. "I'm picking up the tab tonight, and it's not your money he's spending. You don't have to complain. After all, Shun Yuan is my lifelong friend. It's not the same." Upon hearing this, Ling Guang Yao agreed and didn't say anything. Instead, he started fiddling with the colored light beside him and sat closer. Then, he asked his cousin, "Didn't you say your girlfriend was coming tonight? Why hasn't she arrived yet?" Xia Haiji replied, saying that his girlfriend was stuck in traffic and would be there in about 10 minutes. However, Lin Guang Yao was furious, thinking to himself, his family has always depended on mine. If it weren't for me, they wouldn't even have the right to attend this gathering. I don't know what kind of luck he had to land such an amazing girlfriend, especially in that tight skirt and white blouse. She's the kind of office temptation no man can resist. After all, they're not even married. I might still have a chance. Just then, Shin Yuan arrived and apologized to everyone. Sorry for keeping you all waiting. Li Yuhong asked him why it had taken him so long. Shin replied, there was heavy traffic and the driver took a detour through the most congested areas. Upon hearing this, Li Yuhong advised him to report the driver. Lin Guangyao, smiling, couldn't believe Shin had come by taxi. Everyone else here arrived in their luxury cars, and he took a taxi. No wonder he got stuck in traffic, he remarked sarcastically. You're lucky. While everyone else came in their own cars, you already have a personal driver. Just then, Xia Haijia's girlfriend arrived. She was none other than Chen Na, the woman Shun had met when he visited the showroom to buy a car. She also apologized to everyone, saying she had been stuck in traffic. Xia Haijia stood up and told everyone, my girlfriend is a sales rep at the 4S dealership. If any of you need to buy a car, you can contact her, Xia Haijia said, but inside he felt secretly proud. He might not be as rich as the others, but his girlfriend was prettier than theirs. Just then, Chen Na noticed Shun, the man who had picked up his car yesterday. However, since Shin didn't greet her, she decided to act like it was their first meeting. 40 minutes later, Li Yuhong stood up and announced, I'm planning to upgrade the bar I'm setting up. We're all good friends here. If anyone is interested in investing and growing the business together, let me know. The estimated cost is 2.4 million yuan. I'm willing to give up 30% of the shares, which means an investment of around 700,000 yuan. Anyone interested? However, everyone sat in silence. No one said a word. One of them thought, does Lin Guangyao really not understand? Li Yuhong's family earns tens of millions a year. Does he really need outside investment for 700,000 yuan? He realized the reason. Li Yuhong's previous investments had failed, and his father was no longer funding him. Xia Haijia, who wasn't from a wealthy family, thought, if I want to invest in this business, I'll have to save for 2 years just to gather 700,000 yuan. The third guy was just there for the food, not any kind of investment. Everyone remained silent. They didn't want to invest in something where they weren't sure they could even recover their money. Li Yuhong couldn't believe it. These guys are always happy to take advantage of me for food and drinks, and I always pay. But when it comes to money, they hesitate. When they need something, they don't hesitate to ask. But now, when I'm struggling, everyone suddenly plays dead. He finally asked them, why is everyone so quiet after dinner? Can't you at least say something? If you don't want to invest, just say no. Lin Guangyao spoke. Li Yuhong, I don't think we're at the point of needing investments yet. If it's just a temporary money problem, we can all chip in a few thousand to help open the place. Then, when you start making money, you can pay us back. Everyone agreed with Lin Guangyao, saying that if they became partners halfway through, it wouldn't be fair to Li Yuhong. That way, when he starts making money, he doesn't lose out. After all, they had all seen Li Yuhong's investment record. The hot pot restaurant and the KTV he opened before were both failures. Now he wants to open a chill bar. How is that any different from throwing money away? However, some of them didn't agree with Lin Guangyao, thinking, if he has money, let him lend it privately. Why drag everyone into this? We all depend on our families, and we don't even have enough pocket money ourselves. Li Yuhong was disappointed. He couldn't believe it. He just wanted to partner with everyone to do business and make money. But if it turns into borrowing and getting into debt, then it makes no sense. One thing became clear to him. These so-called brothers, especially Lin Guangyao, were useless. He had clearly talked about investing and becoming partners, but Lin Guangyao had turned it into a loan. So, he told everyone, if no one's interested, then forget it. Lin Guangyao agreed. Li Yuhong, talking about investments and partnerships makes no sense. Let's just keep eating, drinking, and having fun. Meanwhile, Shun, who already knew the true nature of these so-called friends, stayed silent. He had seen their attitudes ever since his family went bankrupt. Yet, Li Yuhong still kept pinning his hopes on people like them. They're all parasites, surviving only thanks to their families, wasting everything they've been given. Li Yuhong quickly grabbed his phone. To his surprise, he had received a message from his bank. It confirmed a credit of 700,000 yuan to his account. Lin Guangyao saw Li Yuhong's stunned expression and asked, what happened? Instead of replying, Li Yuhong simply showed his phone to Lin Guangyao. As Lin Guangyao looked at the screen, he was shocked. He couldn't believe that Shun had actually transferred 700,000 yuan. Shun Na, confused, wondered if the situation had suddenly changed. One of the other friends approached Lin Guangyao and asked why he was shaking all over. "What kind of message did he show you?" he asked. With a trembling voice, Lin Guangyao said, "I have something to take care of at home, so I can't stay." Xia Haijia, also confused, asked him, "What's going on?" But Lin Guangyao replied, "Don't ask anything. You should go home too. Your uncle and aunt are looking for you." Xia Haijia, puzzled, responded, "They haven't called me." Lin Guangyao was furious. He couldn't believe his cousin didn't even understand the gravity of the situation, but he realized it wasn't worth arguing anymore. Still, one thing he couldn't understand. If Shun had so much money, why did he come by taxi? Was he trying to show off? He stole all the attention tonight. Another friend came over, curious about Lin Guangyao's sudden change in attitude. He asked, what did the message say? But when he looked at it himself, he realized the gravity of the situation. He decided it was best to quietly leave. Seeing him, the others also started leaving. However, Xia Haijia still didn't understand why everyone was behaving like that. But China advised him that they should leave as well. Outside, Jay Hai asked China, "How did you know they were checking the transfer records? You didn't even see the message." She told Xia Haijia that Shen Yuan bought an M9 yesterday and paid in cash. However, Xia Haijia still didn't believe it and asked China if she was joking. With a serious face, China told him that she was telling the truth. She even had the purchase contract saved on her phone. Xia Haijia apologized and said, "I'm not trying to criticize you, but if you knew he was a rich guy, you should have told me earlier." But China was furious. She said, "Today I finally see what kind of person you are," and told him firmly, "Let's never contact each other again." Meanwhile, back inside the bar, Li Wei told Shun, "If I had known you were that rich, I wouldn't have organized this meeting today." But Shun replied, "It was necessary. Now you've seen for yourself, those guys aren't trustworthy. They're fine to hang out with, but when it comes to serious matters, you can't rely on them." Then Shin asked Li Yuhong to tell him more about his idea for the bar. Even though he was only a minority shareholder, he wanted to be involved in the planning. Liu Yuhang agreed and began sharing his plans for the next 30 minutes. Shin Yuan discussed the bar's decor style and operations with him. Li Yuhong was impressed with Shun's suggestions. He said, "You didn't waste your time in college. You really have an interesting vision for business." Shun smiled and replied, "This is what you call commercial talent." But he also added, "Neither of us has time to manage the place every day, so we'll need to find a good manager who can handle this task." 1 hour later, Chen Na messaged Shun. She told him the car he reserved was about to arrive at the store. She said he could come on Friday to pay the balance and pick it up. However, Shun told her not to worry and asked if she was free tomorrow night. He had some specific questions about the car that he wanted to ask in person. Chen Na, confused, wondered what was going on with Mr. Shun. Meanwhile, Shun, who only had Minwi as his money tree, knew the refunds from the system were limited. He needed to expand and make the most of the system. Since Chun Na was beautiful and had an amazing figure, he thought, why not spend money on a beauty like her and get the refund through the system? The next day, Chen Na arrived at the location Shun had sent her and waited for him. But Shin still hadn't shown up. Just then, an awkward-looking old man approached Chen Na and asked, "What are you doing here, and why are you wearing this store uniform?" It was Chen Na's branch manager, Zhang Xianyong. He had been trying to flirt with her for a while, but never got the chance. Seeing her alone today, he felt it was the perfect opportunity. He told his colleagues, "You guys go find somewhere to eat. How about other things to do?" However, they already knew exactly what he was planning. One of the men asked another, "Do you think Chen Na will agree to Mr. Zhang?" But the other man replied, "I don't think so. Chen Na doesn't seem like that kind of person." The first man shrugged and said, "I don't know what kind of girl comes out here to eat alone. Maybe she set up a casual meeting on purpose, just so Zhang Xianyong could see her." However, Xia Haijia was also there, secretly listening to their conversation from behind. Meanwhile, Mr. Zhang approached Chen Na and asked her, "Are you alone? Mind if I join you?" But Chen Na politely apologized and told him, "I'm already waiting for a friend. I have a date." Mr. Zhang smiled, not believing what he was hearing. This little girl is still playing hard to get, he thought. He said, "As your superior, it doesn't matter if you're waiting for someone. We can eat together." Chen Na, now visibly annoyed, firmly declined. "Keep a proper distance," she told him. "You already have a family. You shouldn't be doing this kind of thing." Mr. Zhang shamelessly replied, "If you're worried because I have a family, I could divorce my wife for you." Meanwhile, Xia Haijia, fuming, wandered around the mall. He couldn't believe Chan Na had rejected him to go after another man. I earn 400,000 to 500,000 yuan a year. I drive a car worth over 300,000. I'm not inferior in any way, he thought angrily. Just then, he spotted Chun Na sitting with Mr. Zeng. I can't believe I'm losing to that fat old pig, he muttered. He stormed over to them and shouted at Chun Na. How can you have an affair behind my back? Chun Na, stunned and confused, told him, You misunderstood everything. Mr. Zeng was also confused, wondering who this fool was. However, Xie Haijie was so angry that, without thinking, he punched Mr. Zeng across the face. Mr. Zeng was furious. He couldn't believe where this crazy dog had come from, daring to hit him. He grabbed Xie Haijie by the collar and punched him in the face. Both of them started fighting like wild dogs, and the people around enjoyed the spectacle. Just then, Shen arrived and saw Xie Haijie fighting with someone. However, he was relieved. If it hadn't been for that fat man who took the fall, I would be the one lying on the floor right now. Shen grabbed Chen Na's hand and quietly left. While driving, Chen Na told Shen that she had only been with Xie Haijie for 2 weeks. It was at that dinner when she realized how horrible his character was. Luckily, she left him that very night. Shen agreed with her decision, telling her, It's better to discover someone's true nature early than to regret it later. However, Chen Na said, it wasn't over. Zhang Xianyong, the man who got hit, was her boss. Now that he had been beaten for no reason, she didn't know how he would treat her. Shen told her, a boss like that doesn't deserve you working for him, and advised her that it would be better to change jobs. But Chen Na said, it wasn't that easy to find work now. If she changed stores, she'd have to start over, and all the customers she had built up over the years would be gone. The truth was, being in sales for so long was exhausting, and she also wants to switch industries, for example, open a small cafe. If she's in a good mood, she'll stay open longer. If not, she'll close early. It will be wonderful. However, a cafe costs between 300,000 and 400,000 yuan, and she doesn't know when she'll be able to save that much. Shen heard this and told her, if you want to open a cafe, you don't have to worry about not having enough money. Jay is willing to invest. Besides the 700,000 from Lai Yuhong, I've just secured 300,000 yuan in exclusive investment funds. However, Chen Na didn't take it seriously. She told Shen that if that happened, she'd resign immediately and work for him. Shen, with a serious expression, told her to resign tomorrow. I'll invest 300,000 yuan to open a cafe, and you'll work for me. Chen Na was surprised, wondering if she had heard that right. Meanwhile, Shen was happy to get a new money tree. Chen Na was shocked and asked Shen if he was serious or just joking with her. Shen smiled and told her that he was genuinely serious. Don't you want to work for me? When the cafe is up and running, I'll pay you 12,000 yuan a month, plus bonuses. If the cafe does well for 3 months, I'll even give you a 200,000 yuan car. Chen Na, though surprised, couldn't believe how generous Shen's offer was. No sales pressure, just work for 3 months and get a car, and her annual income would top 300,000 yuan. However, she felt a bit worried. Was Shen doing all this because he was planning to keep her around? She told Shen, this isn't worth doing just for me. Even though it all sounds tempting, I don't want to be a cage canary, especially not as a third wheel. Shen smiled and told her not to overthink it. He explained that he was planning to open a chain of cafes, and this first one was just a pilot project. So, their relationship would be strictly boss and employee, nothing more. Shen now blushed and asked Shen to give her some time to think. Just then, Shen received a message from Minhui. Are you free this evening? If so, let's go out for a cold drink. Shen, a little surprised, couldn't believe how much energy Minhui had. He replied, telling her that he would come. Then he turned to Chen Na and said he had something to take care of and had to go. He told her to think carefully and let him know once she made up her mind. Sometime later, at room 808 of the Grand Magnate Hotel, as Shen entered the room, Minhui grabbed him from behind. I missed you, she said. But suddenly, she noticed the scent of another woman on him. Shen looked around and realized it might be because he had gotten to Chen Na's car and ended up with her perfume. Minhui pushed him back and asked, how could you meet someone else behind my back? Shen hugged her and told her she had misunderstood everything. The only one I love is you. The scent you're picking up, it's probably from earlier today when I went to the dealership to handle car paperwork. Maybe I picked up some perfume from the sales girls. They were a lot of perfume to attract customers. Minhui agreed with his explanation. However, she told him that next time he goes out with another girl, he should let her know first and keep some distance from that sales girl. Shen nodded in agreement. However, deep inside, he knew he couldn't actually do that. His system task was to spend more on the opposite sex and earn money back through refunds, so he couldn't stick to just one money tree. After clearing up all the misunderstandings, Minhui told Shun she was going to take a shower first and asked him to wait. However, Shun grabbed her from behind and threw her onto the bed, telling her, "You don't have to shower. I like your natural scent." Just like that, the two kissed and engaged in some proper exercise. 2 hours later, despite the long session, Minhui still wasn't satisfied and wanted to continue. But Shun, now looking exhausted, asked her to wait. "I need a shower. I've sweated a lot and feel sticky." "It's uncomfortable," he said. One thing Shun realized was that Minhui had far more energy than Zhou. Minhui was glowing with happiness, but he was completely drained. Still, whatever kind of exercise they just did seemed to boost Minhui's affinity level by a lot. Last time, it rose to 86 in one night. Today, after 2 rounds, it hit 90. As Minhui's affinity level reached 90, Shun completed an affinity task and was rewarded with 1 lottery ticket worth 1 million yuan and 1 skill, Ruthless Power. Shun was surprised but also thrilled. A lottery ticket worth 1 million yuan. With that kind of money, it would be easy to explain where the funds came from, and he could finally pay off his family's debts. However, what excited him even more was the skill he had just received, Ruthless Power. With this skill, in the future, he would be able to completely dominate Minhui. From now on, she wouldn't control him. She would be under his control. As he activated the skill, his manhood became solid again, and he started to feel a huge surge of energy between his legs. The rewards for reaching an affinity level of 90 with the opposite sex are amazing, he thought. It seemed like the system gave rewards based on what he needed. However, he knew that reaching an affinity level of 90 with the opposite sex was tough. Although Lisha had surpassed 60, getting to Hui Hui's level would be a long road. As for Chun Na, with her long legs and black stockings, she had also broken 60. But for now, he needed to advance step by step. He really didn't know when the next girl with an affinity level above 90 would show up, or what rewards he'd get, but he wouldn't worry about that for now. The important thing was to test the power the system had given him. So, he approached Minhui, who was surprised, and asked him if he wasn't taking a shower. Shin smiled and told her that he wanted to do more exercise before showering. Meanwhile, elsewhere, at Chun Na's house, after hearing Shun's offer, she called one of her friends, Qian Qian. She told her that a guy had offered her 300,000 yuan to help her open a store. He also said that after 3 months, he'd give her a 200,000 yuan car. Chen Na asked her friend, Qian Qian, if she thought the guy wanted to keep her. But she also told her that the guy already had a girlfriend. Qian Qian jokingly asked, "Are you kidding? Or what, did you run into a scammer?" Chen Na told her that she was telling the truth and that she'd seen him a few times. The last time, he even bought a car with her. Upon hearing this, Qian Qian asked Chen Na how old he was. She mentioned that most of the buyers at her dealership were usually middle-aged men. Chen Na replied that he was only 21 years old. Surprised, Qian Qian couldn't believe it. So young and already driving a luxury car? She asked. "Is he handsome?" Chen Na nodded in agreement. Qian Qian exclaimed, "Is he really going to spend 300,000 yuan to help you open a store and then give you a 200,000 yuan car? A guy so rich, handsome, and young, what more could you ask for?" But Chen Na told her that he was 5 or 6 years younger than her. Qian Qian told her not to worry. "People say if a woman is 3 years older, it's like hugging a gold bar," she said. In his case, roughly speaking, it's like hugging 2 gold bars. But Chen Na also told her that he already had a girlfriend. Qian Qian responded, "Having a girlfriend isn't the same as having a wife. Even if you were married, under those conditions, it wouldn't matter." However, Chen Na disagreed with her opinion. Qian Qian teasingly said to her, "If you're so indecisive, pass this little millionaire to me. I'll put up with everything for you." But Chen Na told her that she should think about her own boyfriend first. However, Qian Qian said that if a man like that wanted to keep her, she'd be single in a second. She hung up the phone and told Chen Na to worry too much. After ending the conversation, Chen Na looked out the window, thinking about Shun, wondering what she should do. Meanwhile, at the Grand Magnate Hotel, 40 minutes later, Minhui, fully satisfied, told Shun that he was different from before, much stronger than before. Shun smiled and asked her if she was satisfied. Minhui blushed, thinking, in just over 40 minutes, we've already done it twice. Shun approached her and whispered in her ear, asking if she liked it so much. Why not go for another round? Minhui was surprised but embarrassed, asking if he could really go again. Shun smiled, saying, I remember you studied dance. Come on, how about you take the lead this time? Minhui, embarrassed, replied that she didn't know how. Shun approached her and told her that she could learn over time. Just like that, the two of them exercised all night. The next day, after Fong Minhui returned to school, Shun was still feeling sleepy. He didn't have any classes in the morning, but suddenly remembered that he had received a lottery ticket from the system and wanted to check it. As he looked through the process, he realized the lottery ticket he had was showing the same numbers as today's winning draw. He had won 6.8 million yuan. Shun, overexcited, couldn't believe he hit a 6 million yuan jackpot. He quickly got up from bed, eager to tell his parents the good news. Ever since the family went bankrupt, they had been struggling. Sometime later, he reached his home and called out for his mother. His mother came out and asked why he was shouting at the door. What happened? She asked. But before Shun told her the good news, he asked where his father was, saying he had something really important to tell them. His father came out and asked what happened. Had he gotten into some kind of trouble? Shun smiled and told them that their family was now rich because he had won a 6.8 million yuan lottery. However, his parents didn't believe him and told him not to stress too much over the family debt. Just focus on your studies. We'll take care of the debts, they said. Shun showed them the lottery ticket he had, along with the winning numbers on his phone. As his father matched the numbers, he was stunned. He turned to his wife and said, We really won the jackpot. Both of them were shocked. They couldn't believe it was really 6.8 million. Shin told them that even after deducting 20% in taxes, they would still have over 5 million left. With that money, not only could they pay off the debts, but they could also greatly improve their lives. His mother, overjoyed, thanked her son. Because of you, our family is no longer in debt. She suggested they celebrate hitting the big jackpot. However, Shun told his parents that after graduation, he was planning to start a business on his own to gain some experience. Shun's father agreed with him, but also gave him some advice. Right now, business isn't easy, but it's good that you have that idea. Young people need to explore, and since you won the prize, it's best you manage it yourself. He also suggested that Shun set aside a portion of the money for himself, so that if he failed, he'd have a backup. Shin told his parents that he would only take 1 million yuan for himself, and they could use the rest however they needed. Chin's parents agreed and told him they would support whatever he chose to do. Meanwhile, at Chinna's office, her boss, Mr. Xing, called Chinna into his office and asked for an explanation about the incident that had happened at the mall. Chinna told Mr. Xing that she had broken up with that man a long time ago, and she had nothing to do with him anymore. If he was hurt, he should be looking for the man, not blaming her. However, Mr. Zong didn't agree. He said, If it weren't for you, would that man have beaten me for no reason? In truth, Mr. Zong was planning to use the incident as an excuse to gain leverage and try to win her over. But Chinna stood her ground and stuck to her word. Chinna told Mr. Zong, What does their fight have to do with me? Besides, yesterday when he sat down, I told him I had a date, but he insisted on sitting there. However, Mr. Zong smiled and told her she was being stubborn. He added, Yesterday afternoon, you left your post, leaving customers unattended in the showroom. As punishment, I'm suspending your customer service duties for the rest of the month. Take this time to reflect on what you did wrong. Chinna asked him why, saying that she had asked for permission yesterday. Mr. Zong laughed and replied, That's because I'm the general manager of this store and I have full authority. I can do whatever I want. Chinna was angry, but she couldn't say anything. Mr. Zong smiled smugly, thinking, Suspending your customer service duties means you'll lose your commissions. If you're only getting the base salary this month, that's just 1,200 yuan, not even enough to cover your rent. Chinna was furious. She told Mr. Zong, This general manager position has really gone to your head. It's nothing more than a trivial job. If necessary, I'll quit. Worried, Mr. Zong stood up from his seat and asked Chinna to think carefully. But Chinna, still furious, told him, I don't need to think anymore. From today onward, I'm done with this useless job. Half an hour later, she messaged Shun and told him that she had quit her job. Then she asked him, Does what you said yesterday still count? Shun congratulated her on escaping that hell and choosing a brighter path. He told her that when she had time, she could go check out some locations. If you find one that suits you, he said, we'll take it. After that, he wanted to meet Professor Lee. However, Professor Lee was busy moving her office supplies and asked Shun to help her. As there were too many things she couldn't move on her own, she said she was going to ask the class monitor for help, but he was on leave. Shun agreed and told her not to worry, explaining that he didn't have classes in the morning and was free at home. He pointed at a cabinet and asked Professor Lee, Do we need to move that too? Professor Lee nodded, telling him that if it were only books and supplies, she could manage alone, but the desk and the filing cabinet were too heavy. But first, she said, remove the books from the top of the filing cabinet, or they might fall when we move it. As she tried to reach the books and files, her hand couldn't quite get to them. Shun came over to help. Because of that, he ended up standing very close to Professor Lee. And because of that, Professor Lee became flustered, thinking, this time we're much closer than that one time. Could it be that Shin Yuan really feels something for me? Professor Lee blushed, her face turning red with embarrassment. Nervously, she asked Shun if he was already done. Shun nodded and took the files from the cabinet. Just then, other students came in to help Professor Lee. They noticed Shun and asked, why is Professor Li Xia's face so red? Shun approached them and said, hurry up and move this stuff. Take that filing cabinet to the office next door. Meanwhile, Professor Lee felt relieved that the students had arrived. Just a few seconds later, if they'd seen what had happened, it would have been really embarrassing for her. But she also realized that Shun Yuan was getting bolder by the minute. What had happened at home was enough. Now he was off doing stupid things in the office. Yet, for some reason, she felt a little excited about it. However, she quickly dismissed those thoughts, reminding herself that she was a teacher and Shun was her student. She couldn't think about him in that way. Just then, Shin noticed that Professor Lee's affection level had jumped to 71 and wondered if that moment had really boosted her feelings. However, he knew it wasn't because he was too charming. It was just that the professor had some seriously curvy hips. With a flatter girl, he wouldn't have gotten this far. But he didn't expect her affection to go up because of this. He realized maybe he should visit her more often to nurture their relationship. On the other side, 800 meters from school Southgate, Jean Peng came with two girls from his class to a cafe. The girl in the black dress said to Jean Peng that she heard he bought a car worth 280,000 yuan in cash. The other girl also agreed, saying that he hadn't even graduated yet and was already driving a BBA that put him above 9,999 of their classmates. Jean Peng smiled and thought, what if Minwei rejected me? With my credentials, plenty of girls will be lining up to follow me. He told them that some people don't even care about a BBA. The girl in the black dress asked him if he was joking. How can they not care? What kind of family do they come from? The other girl also agreed, saying some people just don't get it. Even working for 3 or 5 years wouldn't let them afford a car like that. But just then, Jean Peng and the girls noticed a luxury car standing in front of the cafe. Jean Peng told them it was the Yahello leading M9. But when they looked closely to see who was driving that car, they were surprised to find that it was Shun. Jean Peng was shocked and refused to believe it. How was Shin Yuan driving that car? Weren't they supposed to know his family was bankrupt? Just then, Shin entered the cafe. Shun, he called out. Jean Peng was even more shocked. He couldn't believe that the gorgeous girl he had been admiring just a few minutes ago was waiting for Shin Yuan. Was this the cafe Shun Yuan and Chan Na had been thinking of buying? She had told Shun that the cafe owner had just texted her to wait here, and that she would be here any minute. Then, she asked Shun about the car handle and whether he had faced any problems. Shun smiled and told her that everything was perfect and that he hadn't faced any issues. Meanwhile, the girl in the black dress asked Jean Peng who Shin Yuan was. Still living such a carefree life. Wasn't his family supposed to be bankrupt due to corruption? Jean Peng was furious. He couldn't believe that Shun Yuan had just broken up with his partner, and now he was already hooking up with a beauty from outside the school. Just then, the cafe owner, Lin Yuchong, arrived. She apologized to Miss Chun and explained that she had just picked up her son and had gotten held up a bit. She praised Shun. I didn't think he was so young. Shun smiled and told her that they were all around the same age, about 20. He then asked Mrs. Lin to sit down and talk. Miss Lin sat down and told Shun that the business wasn't doing great, but being at the school meant a decent flow of customers. The problem was that she had tons of family issues, and taking care of her son left her with little time, so she had no choice but to transfer the cafe. The transfer fee was 300,000 yuan. Even though Shun had 300,000 yuan to invest after the transfer fee, he would need to leave 50,000 yuan as seed capital for the business and to cover Chin Na's first salary. So he offered Miss Lin 250,000 yuan up front. Miss Lin, however, thought that price was a bit lower than what she expected. She had been expecting 270,000 yuan, but if she didn't transfer the cafe now, he might not find someone as determined. So she agreed to that price and asked Shun to sign the agreement and transfer the payment today. Shin also agreed and told her that once they signed, he'd transfer the 250,000 yuan to her. Just then, Miss Lin called Xiao Qiu, who was one of the employees of the cafe, and introduced her to Mr. Shun. Miss Lin told Qiu that he would be the new owner and asked her to show him around and get him acquainted with the place. Qiu greeted Shun, but Shun told her that she just needed to show Miss Chen Na around. He wouldn't be coming by often. Qiu would handle everything in the business. Zhan Peng and the two girls listened to their conversation. A girl in a black dress told the other girl that, in just a few minutes, they had closed a deal for 250,000 yuan. The other girl, and the three of them, said it was obvious that Shun Yuan took the cafe because of the gorgeous girl by his side. Zhan Peng was furious and didn't know what to say. Meanwhile, she noticed that Miss Lin's phone was ringing. It was her husband calling. Miss Lin excused herself to take the call. However, Zhang Xianyong showed Shen the name on Miss Lin's phone and told him that Mrs. Wright Yuan was the wife of Zhang Xianyong, the same guy who fought with Xia Haiji at the financial center. He was her boss at the car dealership. Shen was surprised and couldn't believe that, with such a beautiful wife at home, he still used his position to harass his employees. How despicable. If it were me, I wouldn't stand for it, he thought. Shen Na, a little worried, told Shun that she still had the chat records where Zhang Xianyong harassed and threatened her. She was thinking of exposing him after she got her salary, so everyone in the industry could see his true colors. She asked Shen Yuan if they should tell Mrs. Lin. She's very kind, but I'm afraid of hurting her. Shen smiled and told her that he didn't think it would be appropriate. Shen, curious, asked why he thought that. Shen smiled again and explained that once those chat records went public, Zhang Xianyong would know who did it. A man over 40, unemployed, yet with a family to support. He feared that Zhang Xianyong might do something awful. He told Shen Na to relax and let him handle it. He promised he could take him down without it affecting her. Shen Na, relieved, thanked Shun for everything. Just then, Shun transferred 250,000 yuan to Mrs. Lin and also sent Shen Na 50,000. Out of that, 24,000 was her salary for the last 2 months, and the rest would serve as seed capital for the business. At that moment, a system notification window popped up in front of him. He had used the 1 million yuan in exclusive investment funds to complete the initial investment task, and his investment level had risen from beginner to junior investor. After that, he received another task. A perfect life should have a more diversified industry. The host will receive 10 million yuan in exclusive investment funds to further expand investments. Upon completing this task, he would receive 2 rewards. Investment income will triple upon completing the investment. He'll receive a mysterious industry. Shen didn't expect the system to surprise him again. This time, the exclusive investment fund multiplied by 10, and now he has 10 million yuan to invest, plus there's a mysterious industry. After ending the call, Miss Lin approached Shun. I received the payment. It has been a pleasure working with you, and I hope to see you again, she said. As Shun touched Miss Lin's hand, he couldn't believe how soft it was. It was almost as if she had no bones, yet it had a meaty touch. Could it be the charm of a wife? He wondered. He smiled and told Miss Lin, in the future, we will see each other again. Half an hour later, Shun took Chen Na to an expensive Japanese restaurant. Surprised, Chen Na told Shun, this restaurant is so expensive. Do you come here often? Shun smiled and told her, not that often. Today's a good day to celebrate our partnership, so that's why I brought you here. Looking at Chen Na, Shun couldn't take his eyes off her. She was just irresistible. Any normal man would feel the same, he thought. He then asked Chen Na to sit next to him. At first, she hesitated, but eventually, she sat beside him. Shun grabbed her hand to bring her a little closer. He had spent 300,000 on the cafe, and every month he had to pay 12,000 in salaries. It's time to earn some interest back. Chen Na's whole face was red with embarrassment. She knows that in this world, there's no love or effort without reason. Does he really want to make money off the cafe? Even Lan Yucheng said that just keeping the books balanced is an achievement, and all she's got to offer is this. She wondered. Shen slowly approached and touched her, but Chen Na, embarrassed, asked him to stop, telling him that the waiter was coming in. However, Shun told her not to worry. They don't serve that fast here, he said, and continued what he was doing. 10 minutes later, as they were getting excited, the waiters came and told Shun that they were ready to prepare the dishes. Chen Na pushed Shun away and adjusted his clothes. Then, Shun also told the waiters to prepare the dishes. When the dishes were served, Shun approached Chen Na and asked her to try their house specialty. Chen Na looked at Shun and realized that he was actually quite handsome, but his only flaw was that he was a bit of a rascal. Even though he had such a beautiful girl by his side, he still acted like this outside. It's a shame he's on his own boat now. There's no point in dwelling on that. 40 minutes later, after finishing dinner, Shun saw that the total bill came to $26.52. He scanned the code to pay. Even though the meal cost him $2,652, the system refunded him triple, so he earned $53.04. Making money is as easy as that. One meal equals the commission from selling a car. For the rich, spending $2,000 is like spending $20. After dinner, Chen-Na told Shun that she wanted to go back to the cafe to talk with Chiyo and understand the situation better. Tomorrow, I will start working there, and I want to get familiar with it as soon as possible, she said. However, Shun told her, it's already 8:30, and Chiyo leaves at 9. If she went now, she'd disturb her and earn her resentment. It was better to go home, get some rest, and come tomorrow. Chen-Na's whole face turned red, and she agreed with Shun's suggestion. She also apologized for bothering him again to take her home. 10 minutes later, they reached Chen-Na's house. She got out of the car and thanked Shun for working hard today. Tomorrow after work, I'll hand you the report. After saying that, she said goodbye to him. However, Shun, in a different mood, told her that he was a bit thirsty and wanted to come upstairs for some water. Embarrassed, Chen-Na told Shun that she didn't think that was very appropriate. Isn't that too soon? What happened at the restaurant was already my limit. Shun teased her and asked if there was another man at her place. Chen-Na was startled, then quickly responded, telling him that it wasn't what he thought. I've already broken up with Xie Haijia. Shun smiled and said, then no problem, I'll just have some water. What's inappropriate about that? Chen-Na looked at him suspiciously and asked if he was really just going to have water and leave. Shun confidently replied, of course. But he also told her that if she wanted him to stay over, he could. With Chen-Na staring at him, her face displaying a cute expression, she lets Shun into her house. However, as they enter, Shun quickly grabs her from behind. Chen-Na, feeling embarrassed, tells Shun, didn't you say you were only going to have water? Shun agrees, but the kind of water he wants is not what she was thinking of. He grabs her and starts kissing her. At that moment, downstairs, Xie Haijia comes to Chen-Na's place to apologize. He had been thinking that Chen-Na probably quit because of him. First, he needed to earn her forgiveness, even if it's just to be friends again, and then he would work hard to win her back. However, when he sees that the lights at Chen-Na's place are off, he thinks she must not be home. He concludes that he'll leave flowers at her door. Roses mean, I'll love you forever. This feeling won't change. She's so smart, she'll surely know I sent them. But when he reaches the front door of Chen-Na's room, he hears strange sounds coming from inside. Xie Haijia quickly recognizes the voice. It's Chen-Na's voice. He can't believe that she had said she had nothing to do with Mr. Zong, but in reality, they're already together. Angrily, he knocks on the door, shouting Mr. Zhang's name, asking him to come out. However, there's no Mr. Zong, it's Shun. Shun hears Xie Haijia's voice, but can't believe that idiot has already broken up with her. Why is he getting involved? What's his problem? Chen-Na also heard something outside. Someone was knocking on the door, but Shun told her she was mistaken. It was someone knocking in the room next door. She didn't have to worry. He lifted her into his arms and placed her on the bed. Chen-Na, feeling embarrassed, told Shun to be gentle. Outside, Xie Haijia collapsed in tears on the ground in front of Chen-Na's door. He realized Chen-Na had been completely taken. Now he had no chance. But one last time, he whispered to himself, tell her to use protection. 1 hour later, they were still going. Chen-Na felt immense pleasure, but was also a little worried about Shun. Shun told her to lie down, that way she wouldn't get tired so quickly. With the relentless skill granted by the system and his seemingly endless stamina, he simply couldn't stop. Although Chen-Na seemed outgoing, Shun hadn't expected her to be so reserved in reality, and that only made him more attracted to her. Just like that, they continued all night. The next day, Shun lay in bed when he suddenly smelled something amazing, like toasted bread and fried eggs. It was Chen-Na cooking breakfast for him. Looking at her, he thought, Chen-Na is so considerate, very different from the vibe I got from Hui Hui at the hotel. This kind of warmth only exists at home. A hotel could never offer this feeling. Just like that, he triggered another time-limited task. Spew a property of at least 100 square meters for Chen-Na within 24 hours. Reward 1. The cost of the purchased property will be doubled. Reward 2. After the purchase, the host will receive a mysterious property. Shun, excited, couldn't believe the system had just materialized an idea he'd barely even voiced. With the system's generosity, this property is sure to be anything but modest. Maybe the mysterious property is a huge mansion perfect for pool parties. Looks like in the future, I should meet more high-quality women. That way, my chances of getting surprises like this will increase. Chun-na noticed Shun was already up and told him breakfast would be ready in 2 minutes. Shun was excited, wondering what kind of reward he'd get if Chun-na's affection level reached 90. He smiled at her and asked, "Is breakfast the only thing on the menu today?" as he grabbed her from behind. Chun-na couldn't believe it. After everything that happened last night, he still wasn't satisfied. Shun told her to go finish making breakfast, and that he'd have it soon too. He then said if she had nothing to do this morning, he suggested she go buy a house, one that he would gift her. Chun-na was surprised, wondering if he was joking. He had already spent 300,000 helping her with a coffee shop, and now he wanted to buy her a house. Even though Xinjiang isn't a first-tier city, a house would still cost at least $1 million. Besides, he had already devoured her from top to bottom, and she felt like she had nothing left to offer. What exactly was he after? She wondered. Was it because she made him happy last night? Shun kissed her on the cheek and asked, "Why so quiet? Or do you not want it?" But Chun-na told him it was just all too sudden and way too valuable. "Money doesn't grow on trees," she said. However, for Shun, it almost did. He had over 3.5 million on his card just for buying a house. And if he spent it all, the system would refund him 5 times over, meaning his savings would instantly exceed $17 million. Shun comforted her and told her not to worry about saving money. "For me, there's nothing wrong with buying a house for my woman," he said. So he told Chun-na to pick one that's over 120 square meters. He didn't want to treat her badly. He wiped her tears and added, "We made so much noise last night, and the insulation here isn't great. The neighbors on both sides probably heard everything. We can't keep renting this place." Chun-na blushed and told him it was all his fault. Shun apologized and admitted his mistake, but also added teasingly, "But you were the one yelling so loudly." Just then, Chun-na remembered something and said, "Oh Shun, I have 2 friends who want to check out the coffee shop. I scheduled them for 10:30 a.m. Can you come with me? And maybe afterward we could go see the house?" Shun told her, "Buying a house isn't like buying vegetables. We have to pick the right one, and there's paperwork to handle. An afternoon might not be enough. We should set aside more time." Chun-na realized the gravity of the situation and agreed. She said she'd tell her friends they'd have to reschedule. She texted her friend Qian, saying she had something to take care of and couldn't make it to the coffee shop, but asked if they could meet tonight instead. But Qian replied, "We're almost at the coffee shop already. Minglu and I are just about there." Qian told Minglu, who was driving, that Chun-na said she had something urgent and couldn't come. Minglu, a well-known personal trainer and one of Chun-na's friends, asked Qian what had happened. But Qian shrugged and said she suspected the coffee shop idea might have fallen through. Or maybe Chun-na was just exaggerating. "Seriously," she added, "what kind of man is that easy to fool who would spend 300,000 on her just like that?" However, Minglu responded firmly, "Chun-na isn't the type to show off. I don't think she would make something like that up." Then she asked Qian, "Can you find out what's really going on?" Deep down, Minglu was thinking, "I haven't met a young, handsome, rich man in years, and I never imagined Chun-na would be the one to land one first." No matter what, she was determined to meet him and make a connection. Qian nodded and sent Chun-na a message. To their surprise, Chun-na replied, "Shun is taking me to buy a house." Minglu was stunned when she read that. Buying a house wasn't like buying handbags or makeup. It was a serious investment. Even a small 40 SQ meter apartment would cost between 500,000 and 600,000 yuan. Adding in the coffee shop, a man Chun-na had known for less than half a month was already willing to spend close to 800,000 to 900,000 yuan on her. She realized, no matter what, I absolutely must meet this guy. Even if Chun-na was already with him, a man like that surely didn't have just one woman. Who knows how many more were out there? And when it came to attracting men, she had more advantages than Chun-na. She asked Qian to message Chun-na again and find out which real estate development they were going to. "Tell her we'll help evaluate it," Minglu said. "Honestly, we got nothing to do today, and it's better if a few people help her choose and are doing it alone." She apologized to Chun-na, saying, "This time, it's better if you let your sisters benefit, rather than letting some other woman out there take advantage." Qian agreed and asked Chun-na which real estate development they were going to. 40 minutes later, the two of them arrived at the Sunu Tiandi sales center. Minglu was stunned. "Sunu Tiandi? The smallest units in this development cost over 1,000,000 yuan. Gifting a house worth over 1,000,000 just to keep a mistress. When will I ever be that lucky? Just as Lu Minglu was marveling at the luxury of Sunu Tiandi, she spotted Chun Na waving at them from across the center. Excited, she nudged Qian Qian and asked, "Who's that handsome guy by her side? Quick, ask Chen Na to introduce us." Chen Na smiled and said to Shen Yuan, "These are my good friends. This is Lu Minglu, a personal trainer, and this is Qian Qian, a Ferrari salesperson." Lu Minglu watched as Shen approached them, admiring his perfect figure. She suggested casually, "If you ever have time, you should come train at my gym." But in her mind, she was thinking, I never thought Chun Na's sponsor would look this young, maybe 25 at most. Rich, young, and handsome, it's honestly envy-inducing. Shen smiled and teased, "At your gym, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to concentrate." Seeing that Chun Na didn't object to the light flirting, Mingla quickly realized they're probably not an official couple. She also noticed the slight swelling in Chen Na's knees and immediately understood the battle last night must have been intense. From the look of it, she calculated that Chun Na must have really pleased her sponsor, which is probably why he brought her out today to buy a house. Qian Qian also greeted Shun and said, "If you ever want to change cars, you should come check out the Ferraris in our showroom." Shin nodded and replied, "If I decide to switch cars, I'll definitely contact you." What got Shin even more excited, however, was their affection. In less than 5 minutes of meeting, both of these women are already interested in me, he thought. He couldn't help but wonder if they were really Chun Na's good friends. For Shun, this wasn't a bad thing. In fact, it worked in his favor. The more women with an affection level above 60, the more money trees I'll have, he mused. After the introductions, the group headed inside to look for a suitable house for Chun Na. Inside the showroom, many onlookers admired Shun, buying a house and bringing along 3 beauties. Just then, one of the sales representatives approached Shun and informed him, "We currently have units available in buildings 3 and 9, with an average price of around 15,000 yuan per square meter. Would you like to see the model units first?" However, Shun waved his hand and said, "No need." Then he added, "My budget is 3 million. Can you recommend units and floors that fit within that?" The sales rep quickly apologized and invited him into the negotiation room to provide a more detailed and professional recommendation. Lu Minglu was shocked. What kind of tycoon is this Shun Yuan, spending 3 million without a second thought, she wondered. This kind of sponsor, I absolutely must hold on to him. Inside the negotiation room, the salesperson ran the numbers and told Shun, "With your budget, I recommend a 165 SQ meter unit facing south with beautiful scenic views. After the discount, the final price would be 2,984,000 yuan. Seeing the price, Chen Na leaned over and whispered to Shun, telling him it was too expensive. Shin smiled and gently replied, "Don't skimp on expenses. A big house is much more comfortable to live in." Hearing this, both Liu Minglu and Qian Qian couldn't believe what they were witnessing. The woman wants to save money for him, but he insists on giving her the best, they thought. This man is a legendary sponsor, loyal and generous. A man like this is almost impossible to find. Noticing all the eyes on him, Shin realized he had to at least pretend to haggle. Otherwise, people might think he was a fool. So he turned to the salesperson and said, "Work out the best discount for me. Gorgeous, I know there's room to negotiate." Hearing this, the salesperson quickly responded, "If you're ready to make a decision today, I'll go request an even bigger discount immediately." But Shin waved it off. "No need for more discounts," he said. "Instead, we want to exchange that value for 2 parking spaces. The final price should come out about the same." Lu Minglu watched the scene unfold, stunned. No matter what, I have to win over this man, she thought. Meanwhile, Shin noticed a sudden shift in Lu Minglu's behavior and wondered what was going on with her. When she noticed Shun looking at her, Lu Minglu suddenly pulled down her jacket to give him a glimpse of her bra. Shin blushed, his gaze trailing over her figure, thinking to himself, if something really happened between us, that feeling would be unimaginable. But he shook the thought from his mind. This isn't the time to get distracted. First close the house deal. I'll think about the rest later. Half an hour later, after calculating all the discounts, the total price of the house came to 2.98 million yuan. The salesperson handed Shin the contract and asked him to sign it. Both Lu Minglu and Qian Qian were shocked. They couldn't believe he just helped Chen Na buy a 3 million yuan house. And the most unbelievable part, he only put Chen Na's name on the deed. When will I ever get that kind of fortune? They both thought silently. As soon as the contract was signed, Shin immediately received 14.9 million yuan in his bank account. Shin was thrilled. His account balance now exceeded 15 million yuan. Even at my father's peak, our family never had that much money, he thought. This system is incredible. If it weren't for Chun Na triggering the mission, I'd never have become a multimillionaire overnight. Developing more female NPCs, that's definitely the right path. Right after that, he also received his second reward, a villa in Chinga Lake Green City. The system told him to claim it at the sales office tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Upon seeing this, Shin grew even more excited. A villa, and it's one of the 10 super mansions in Star City. Meanwhile, the sales girl glanced at Shun with admiration. The real estate market isn't doing great right now, and this Mr. Shun just paid cash for a luxury home for Miss Chun, and they don't even seem like a couple. They barely look like boyfriend and girlfriend. How I'd love to have a contact like that. She turned to Shun and said, "The contract is signed. I'll follow up with Miss Chun to handle the rest of the procedures." Then she asked, "Would you mind if we exchange WeChat contacts? That way, if you ever have other purchasing needs, you can reach me directly." Shin agreed and gave her his WeChat. Lu Minglu, visibly jealous, thought to herself, "Where did this vixen come from, daring to mess with what's mine?" She quickly stood up and said to Shun, "I've also been thinking about buying a small apartment recently. When I do, I'll need your advice, with your experience of course, so I'll need your WeChat too, and if you ever need personal training, you can count on me." Shin nodded and gave Chin Na his WeChat account. Then, he told Chin Na that he had other things to do that afternoon, so he wouldn't be joining them. He also didn't want to intrude on their time together. Lu Minglu, however, couldn't believe he was leaving already, not even staying for a meal with all she had to offer. She was frustrated, but she knew this wasn't the right time. There would be more opportunities in the future. Then, Chen Na asked Minglu and Qian Qian to find a place to eat first, and afterward, she would show them her coffee shop. Qian Qian excitedly told Chen Na, "Today is a happy day. I'm going to throw us a little party. After all, you just got a house worth 3 million yuan." Minglu agreed, though her expression showed she was still thinking about Shun. Half an hour later, back at the school cafeteria, Shun was getting himself something to eat. Just then, he noticed Professor Li sitting alone, lost in thought. At that moment, she received a phone call from Secretary Liu. He was asking her about preparing the materials and having a report ready by tomorrow. Professor Li assured him, "Don't worry, everything will be ready tomorrow. I've already looked into it." She explained that currently, the University of Science and Technology, the Agricultural University, and even the business school all had this kind of base. Secretary Liu then asked her if she was free tomorrow night, but she politely declined, saying, "I'm not free tomorrow night. I'm really sorry, I truly have something else planned." After that, Secretary Liu ended the call. Shun then approached her and asked, "Professor Li, is something wrong?" Professor Li explained that the school was planning to establish a startup base for college students, and she was part of the working group. The call had been about that. Shun, curious, asked her more about the startup base. Professor Li told him that the school planned to support students with entrepreneurial ideas by offering funding, space, and guidance. However, she added, "Right now, we're facing some issues. We don't have enough funding and need partnerships with outside companies." Shun, curious, asked Professor Li what conditions the school could offer to companies in exchange for partnerships. Professor Li told him that there really wasn't much. All the school could offer was talent, by signing contracts with companies to send them high-quality graduates each year. Hearing this, Shin replied that the school didn't have much of an advantage there, and the quality of their graduates couldn't compare to those from elite universities. "There's nothing exciting enough to attract those companies' attention to invest," he said. Professor Li agreed. She knew that if companies didn't get what they wanted, they naturally wouldn't invest. But what frustrated her even more was that Secretary Liu was pressuring her to go out drinking with company directors, hoping she could convince them to invest money into the project. Seeing how worried Professor Li was, Shun realized something was wrong. Even though he had 10 million in exclusive investment funds and could invest in this himself, he still needed to consider profitability. For the project to be viable, the student success rate would have to reach at least 33%. But at their school, it might not even reach 20%. Just then, Shin was about to speak. But before he could say anything, Professor Li asked him, "Are you interested?" Professor Li asked, thinking Shin Yuan wanted to start business. Shin nodded and said, "A little, but not too much." Actually, he was thinking about sponsoring this project. Professor Li smiled and said it was a good idea, but since the project hadn't launched yet, it would probably be difficult. Just as Shun was thinking, the system suddenly triggered a mission: earn prestige points by investing in university projects. If he successfully completes this mission, he will be rewarded. For every 500 prestige points accumulated, he gets a chance to draw, possibly earning attribute points and special skills. Prestige points refer to a reputation that inspires admiration in others, representing the recognition and respect people have for the host. These points only count among the university's teachers and students. Shun was surprised. He couldn't believe this could trigger a mission too. Well, after all, the exclusive investment funds were given by the system. If he didn't have to worry about profitability and could earn prestige points, then this startup base was perfect. It would also help Professor Lee solve her urgent problem. Absolutely, he is the investor, so he decides who to invest in and how much. Wouldn't it be awesome to invest in those older and younger female classmates' shops, rack up prestige points, and at the same time boost their affinity? He could make so much money that his hand would hurt from counting. So he asked Professor Lee, if someone or a company is willing to invest, who evaluates the students receiving the investment, the investor or the school? Better clear that up, so he doesn't end up investing his own money, only for the school to cause trouble. Professor Lee told Shun that, in theory, the school should evaluate the students. But since right now they can't find investors, there's plenty of room to negotiate. However, she asked Shun why he was asking all of a sudden. Shun smiled and told her that he wanted to invest, but he had one condition: that he must be the one to evaluate which students receive the funding. However, Professor Lee didn't believe him. She told him this was not the time for jokes. She said that his family had recently gone bankrupt and that he had even applied for financial aid scholarships. Shun didn't waste time trying to convince her. He directly showed her his bank account and asked her to look closely at how many zeros he had. Now, there was no need for him to be discreet. On the contrary, he had to show off more to gain more prestige. Professor Lee looked closely and couldn't believe it. Shun's account was loaded with 15 million yuan. She asked him how he had earned so much money if his family had gone bankrupt. Shun told Professor Lee that back when his family business was still doing okay, he was also investing in cryptocurrency and currency exchange, and he earned this money himself. Professor Lee was still in shock and couldn't believe one of her students was a multimillionaire. He approached Professor Lee and told her to come away with him in the future. They would travel the world, and he would ensure she lived in luxury. Professor Lee blushed in embarrassment and told him, "Don't be silly." Then, she asked Shun if he was sure he wanted to invest in this project. As far as she knew, college startup bases seldom turn a profit, so she suggested he think about it carefully. This wasn't a small amount of money, but Shun told her that he was clear on that, and it didn't matter. Mainly, he wanted to contribute to his alma mater's development. Seeing Shun so serious, Professor Lee wondered if he was doing this for her. However, she dismissed those thoughts, saying, "He's my student. I can't think like that about him." She stood up from her seat and told Shun that she would talk to Secretary Liu about it later. She told him to take his time eating and that they'd talk later. But before she left, Shun also asked her to think about his proposal. A moment later, Chun Na sent Shun some photos of herself with coffee and told him she made the coffee herself, inviting him to come try it when he had time. However, for Shun, the coffee wasn't that great, but the outfit she was wearing was pretty tempting, so he headed toward the coffee shop to meet Chun Na. Meanwhile, Shun Yuan's classmates from Group 2 of International Trade, Kong Xiao Yi and two others, were going out shopping. One of them told Xiao Yi that Shun Yuan was no longer the rich kid he's broke now. Why does she still think about him every day? He probably has to do part-time work to pay tuition by now, she said. But the short-haired girl with the pink skirt told Yuping that she was the one talking, and she was going out with Huang Haibao. Shun Yuan's roommate, Yuping, told her not to bring that up, saying that she had turned Huang down multiple times, but he kept persisting. She told her friends that if he treated her to a meal, she would invite them along, just to see his reaction. She was happy. If she went out with Huang Haibao, at least she would get a free meal. But if she hung around Shun Yuan, they'd only lose money. So, Xiao, you really needed to think carefully. Just then, the short-haired girl in the pink skirt noticed Shun coming and told Yuping to lower her voice. "Look over there, Shun Yuan's coming." Yuping mockingly remarked, "Look, isn't he heading to a part-time job? It's a little past 3, exactly when restaurants get ready." The short-haired girl in the pink skirt laughed and told her friends that they should ask him which place he was working at. Xiao, he tried to stop her friends, saying, "Isn't that inappropriate? They're all classmates, and there's no need for that." But Yuping didn't listen. She approached Shun and asked him why they hadn't seen him around lately. Mockingly, she asked if he was busy with a part-time job and also asked which place it was at, saying they could go and support him. Shun smiled, thinking, what kind of question is that? A part-time job? They think he needs one. Well, since his roommate Huang was chasing Tian Yuping, he'd let it slide. But he decided to mess with them a bit and play along. He told them that he was working at a coffee shop and invited them to come and get some free coffee. However, when they arrived, they were shocked to see two beautiful women. They couldn't believe how gorgeous and stylish both of them were. That's all for today. For the next part, make sure to subscribe my channel Fire Recap. And you don't forget to share and like the video. I am out.